Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. Every now and again, I get a delivery that blows me away, and this particular one I'm super excited about. I feel in quite a fortunate position because over the years I've had the majority of Tamiya vintage equipment, but I've never had one of these. So this is a Tamiya 2-channel Adspec radio system. This was just the absolute flagship radio system back in the day. I believe it was launched in 1988 to tie in with the launch of the Tamiya Avante. It's actually manufactured by Futaba, but there's no Futaba markings on it. And it was designed to run the beautiful iconic Technical motor, which is a 21 turn. This is a full radio system, so it comes with the Tamiya CPR unit, which is super cool. So it's a built-in receiver electronic speed controller in one. The particular model of CPR unit it came with was the P100F, which, as I said, went down to about 19 turns. They then launched a better upgraded version with bigger FETs, and that was the P160F, and that would run a 13 turn motor, proportional forward and linear reverse. And it also came with a Tamiya branded TPS 148 servo, but again it is just a Futaba servo. So that's the system. Let's have a closer look at it. If you're wondering, if you're kind of new to the old school equipment, as I say, this is 31 years old, and it's in absolute mint condition. These are super rare anyway, and to get one in this condition, I've really hit the jackpot. I've overpaid massively for it. I got it off eBay from Mexico. And I overpaid, and then I got stung with a customs charge for it as well. So it's made this super expensive. But as you know, I've got an 88 Avante to restore, and I've got so much money tied into it. But if I'm going to do it, I need to do it right, and it doesn't get any better than this. This is absolute perfect working mint radio equipment for it. So let's have a quick look at what we get. This is one of those items that used to retail at a ridiculous price. You know, this is literally one of those items that we used to, as kids, just look at on the shelf and you could never afford. Or maybe you were lucky enough to afford one. So right off the bat, it takes 8 AA batteries, super greedy on power, and makes it very heavy. As I say, the transmitter design is absolutely cock on. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was Tamiya's first trigger transmitter. I know Futaba and Acoms were doing the Techni Drive and Mega something anyway, but I believe this was kind of the first Tamiya attempt, although it was through Futaba. So as I say, it was 2-channel. It's obviously old school 27 gig, which means you get the crystals inside, and I'm actually running brown crystals, hence why you get this ribbon on the antenna. So if you're new to this, or you're not as old as me, back in the day there was only, I believe, 8 different crystal bands we could use, and if you were running a brown crystal and somebody else was running a brown crystal, it was just massive interference and absolute carnage. So when you were racing, you used to have these ribbons, so when your antenna was fully up and you were on the podium, all the 8 different ribbon colours were dangling down. And you also, back in when we were used to race them, you used to have a crystal board, and it had all the crystals marked up, and when it was your time to race, you had this little name key ring that you took the crystal colour away from, and your name went on it, just in order to make sure there was no interference during the race. It took a load of time, so you guys who never suffered this and all you know is 2.4 gig, you don't know your bread's buttered. The old technology it worked, but it was slow, and Interference was a big problem back then. So as I say, it's 2-channel transmitter, trigger, or wheel, depending what you call it. Power gauge here, obviously forward and reverse. This nifty, I love the design of this Adspec unit, and when the batteries are in, it feels really balanced and solid in your hand. It's got 2 reversing servo switches at the top, and it's got the throttle and steering trim, and it's also got, I'm not too sure what you call this. I think, is it proportional steering adjustment? Which you just turn, and obviously if you servo, if it's on setting 10 for example, your steering servo is going full either way. This used to just be able to trim it so you'd get less movement, so you weren't oversteering. Cracking piece of kit. Also, I've just taken this screw out, but it just kind of shows you what they thought of back in the day. It's got 3 adjustments for comfort for your hand. So when the screw comes out, this just adjusts and can come right back as far as there, which gives you this extra width. And it really does make a hell of a difference when you're holding it. I've tried it. If you've got a small hand, it's got to be in there, and that's just a little bit sort of narrow for me. But when it's at full back position, I'll just put the screw in to locate it. You know, that's perfect. It really is. It's really super comfy. But it just kind of shows you what they were thinking of back in the day. So that's basically the transmitter. As I say, it came with a TPS 148 servo. Nothing special about it. Tamiya branded. But obviously, as I said, all Futaba made. But this bad boy, this is the reason why. This is just the reason why it makes it so cool. The CPR unit P100F. So obviously you've got your heatsink here. You've got an antenna wire for your radio. Your crystal goes in there, and the plug, your steering servo plug, goes in there. And you have your Tamiya battery lead. You have these super long motor wires, and then obviously an on and off switch. So I just want to show you why the design of this. So here's my 88 Avante, which I've not started to restore. But those of you who are as old as me will remember that when this came out, electronic speed controllers were really a thing of the future. There were some very large units around in big metal boxes with big like clicking relays on them and things. But none of those would fit in this car. If you bought an Avante in 88, I'm pretty sure you pretty much had to buy this with it. There will have been a few other smaller electronic speed controllers, but I really can't remember any. And the idea was this, bear in mind the Avante was actually designed for the CPR unit to save on space. So the servo goes underneath, and obviously the lovely Technical motor fits in. I can't actually put that in at the moment, but that goes there. But yeah, that just sits there, just slightly shy of a drive shaft. Battery wires went there. Your motor goes over here. Not too sure where the switch goes, but as you can see, it's absolutely epic for space saving. It is so cool. If you're going to restore an original Avante, you've got to do it this way. As I said, I've got all the bits to start this now, but that'll be on a separate video. So what I want to do next is I want to fire this up and test the transmitter out with the motor and that, because although it's absolutely awesome technology for back then, it is a little bit glitchy today. But let's have a look at that. Thing I did miss, I forgot to tell you about this cool stopwatch that they put in the wheel with buttons. I just thought this was a cracking idea back in the day. Obviously it was designed on your steering hand to start and stop and lap times and what have you. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on this. I went out and got a new battery for it. I took it apart, fitted a new battery in, pressed the reset on it, tried everything I could Google on it, but it doesn't work. It's one of those Tamiya things that seems to not really have ever worked, and apparently there's not many of these sets out there that actually have a working stopwatch, which is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, it's not something you would probably use today, but it's always a really cool, nice to have. But it looks great anyway. So I'll show you, we'll put the battery in. So it's got his nice door here. It's just really well built. It really is. Battery's only going one way. Push down there and then in. And that closes. And as I say, that really does, especially when I've adjusted this now to my hand size, that feels absolutely awesome. So let's connect up and see what we've got. And I can show you this glitch it has. It's programmed. It's hard to explain what it does. When you come off the power, it kind of hits a brake on the motor. So the motor's not really allowed to freewheel that much. When I actually tested it yesterday for the first time, I actually thought it was faulty, but then when I went onto Google, it's not really a fault, it's just the way it's designed, unfortunately. So that's that. I hope you can see all this. So I'll switch the power on. Old school, love it. So I've got power on and we'll hold the motor, because when you turn on, the motor does this. That's not cool. I'll do it again. So that's not cool. Anyway, so that's the motor on. I mean, I know this is not great viewing, but you get the gist of the servo. So that's got maximum movement, and then if you alter the wheel to the minimum, you'll hear the movement. It's minimal. And back up to max. On the servo itself, it doesn't look to make a massive difference, but obviously once it's in the buggy, it does. So what I'll do is I'll shut up and I'll show you how this works. And you'll hear the motor, when I come off the power, you'll hear the motor kind of brake. And under low speed, it's very, well, you'll see. So I'll go forward. So what that's actually doing now, that's really vibrating. And that's when I let go. Do you see how the brake kicks in? And then reverse is one speed. I actually put a sport tuned on this first of all, and I actually thought it was faulty because it was doing this and the motor sounded so rough. And I don't think there's anything you can do to it because this is a sealed unit. But anyway, as I say, this Technical needs a rebuild before it goes in the Avante. I've got the timing turned all the way up on this, but I need to strip it and clean it. But it's all working, so I mean, you really can't ask for more than that. Coolio. I'm really not happy about that though. That's really crap. Anyway, so it's all working. So that's basically it. That's the Tamiya Adspec 2-channel radio. I'm absolutely over the moon. I've got it. I can't tell you how much. I'm itching to get started on the Avante restore now. So I hope that hasn't bored you, but I would have thought that the majority who stayed with me to watch this knew what this was back in the day. If you've got one and your stopwatch works, and you've managed to fix one, maybe tell me how in the links below. That would be much appreciated, because it would be nice to have it working. Anyway, I'll shut up. So once again, thank you for watching. It's much appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you can consider liking and subscribing to support us, that would be amazing. But most of all, happy assing.